Okay, so the funds of knowledge that I assessed was parents' job. So to do this, I sent home a form that I will show right here. And with it, I first gave a letter that just wrote to explain what I was doing for the parents' ease of mind. Why was I asking all of these questions? But then the actual form asked for parents to write their job for either parent one, parent two. Parent two is optional because I know that not all children have parent twos. And then to describe their job along with writing their work schedule. And then at the end, I asked a question of whether or not the child has been in the workplace of that parent before, or the parent has worked at home. That way, to see kind of the exposure that that child has. And I really liked the ease of this way of assessing because it could all be done in one form. It wasn't something I had to do repeatedly to get my information, it was just all at once. But it was difficult because parents did not return it in the time that I gave them. I gave them 2 weeks to return the form, and by the end of it, I only had 13 responses out of 22 students. And so I was able to use what I had, but that wasn't the biggest picture of all of my students. This is my data that I got from my 13 class responses with my Fund of Knowledge assessment. Looking at this left-hand chart of the frequency of parent jobs, you can see that the most frequent job that parents held was in healthcare, and I will show the specific types of jobs that parents wrote down on the following slide. But healthcare, construction, and skilled labor had the most parents, with 4 and 3 and 3. So there were some that just held one job, like one lawyer or one person who held a franchise. And these are still important data that I will see when I look at my specifics for which student had which type of job for their parent. But looking at it as a class whole, the most was in healthcare, construction, and skilled labor, which can show me a lot of things about what my students come from. Then in the top right-hand corner, you'll see parent work schedules. And as I talk about later, this wasn't as important as I thought it would be. It's more of a contextual factor than telling me what knowledge the students have. But just looking at this data, you can see that more parents work during the week than on the weekends, even though some still work on the weekends. Then in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see this pie chart that just shows what percentage of the students that I got responses from have either been to work with their parents or the parents work in the home in front of them, so they get that added exposure. And it looks like more students have been around parents while working than not. Like I said, this is the specific data that stemmed from my assessment, so rather than telling me as a whole or based off what job categories parents held, this tells me what specific jobs they have. So, for example, like I said, healthcare, we have one physical therapist, one nurse practitioner, one lab technician, someone who works in heart and vascular management, and then someone who owns their own vein and body sculpting business. So this to me tells me more exactly of what I'm dealing with. For example, retail, I looked at this and the parent wrote FFL dealer, and I didn't know what that meant, and so I went and I looked it up. And an FFL dealer, if you don't know, sells firearms, and so that's more important for me to know which student has a father or mother who sells firearms than just retail, because retail could mean you work at Target. So this really breaks it down and gives me a better picture of what all I'm working with my data. And then obviously if I have my student names next to it, that would give me even more data, but I didn't do this for the purpose of our class. So as you can see, there's a wide range of different jobs that parents hold. Everything from working at a Jimmy John's that you own for a franchise to being a court recorder. And so when I tie these to the students, this will give me insight, and I'll talk about more with my classroom application. I chose to do this fund of knowledge over other ones like religion because I knew that in my school, religion would be something that is pretty similar across the board, especially living in the South, but even more so than that, my school is like very Christian with prayers during faculty meetings, and I knew all of my students wouldn't have anything else other than that. So I chose Parents Job because my students have a range of socioeconomic status, so I was interested to see what the parents do for a living. That way I can see what effects those students have. So generally, the classroom application for this would be that parents are going to work and even talking about what they're doing at work. Maybe the kids see what they're doing at work, and then the kids just know more about certain topics. So if you're in the medical field, your child may know more about science topics, or just may know about hospitals, which may help them in certain areas. So for me, what I found specifically in my data was, for example, one student named Cameron. His father is an IB math teacher, and I know from experience that when he gets problems wrong on his math reviews, that his parents are always confused because his dad is the math teacher. And so I know that he gets extra help at home with math, and I know that he naturally is better with math. So I know that on a lot of concepts, he will get it right away, and I can usually put him in his own group rather than making him work with others all the time to slow him down. So I know that that's a strength of his. Another student, her mother is a 4K teacher out of our school. So with this, I not only know that she knows kind of what teachers do, but that wouldn't be important for her to know, but I know that she works with her mom on the side. So this impacts her a lot. This impacts her love of reading. Her mom's a teacher, so she encourages her to read. So this is our first student who just finished the whole entire Harry Potter series in 4 months. And I know that that's because she's motivated, because her mom's a teacher and it has instilled this in her. She's also a hard worker. So not only can parents' jobs influence your knowledge and your content that you know coming into the classroom, but I think it can influence your personality and influence just the kind of person that you are. Looking forward, if I were to assess this fund of knowledge in the future, I think something different that I would do is definitely making sure that I get the information at the beginning of the year or when I have the parent there with me, because like I said, with the lack of response, I only got 13 out of 22 students. I think if I gave that form and had parents fill it out at open house or meet the teacher, then I would have a bigger response, obviously, and that would just be easier, because once you send things home with children, it's not likely that you'll get it back. If parents weren't at open house or meet the teacher night, or if that just didn't work for any reason, I could have students write down what they know about their parents' work. So that could at least give me a little bit of information. If the child knows, oh, he works in construction, then that would at least help me a little bit. Another change that I would make is that on my form, I not only ask parents to tell me their job title and describe their work, but I also ask for their work schedule. And I thought this would be interesting to ask because I wanted to see what type of time commitment are they away from their children, or just kind of like what their work week looks like. But I think if I was truly assessing what they do, then this could be omitted, because this is almost more of a contextual factor than just purely their knowledge, because them working Monday through Friday is not going to impact the child's knowledge. So I think I would remove this part from my form, because it's more of a contextual factor of when are you with your child, when are you not, than what does your child know. And then lastly, I think that I would definitely put a place on the form to have their name, because as students were turning them in, most would write their name on it and say, this is Cameron's mom. But I didn't put anywhere on the form for them to either write their child's name or for them to write their own name. So a lot of people took liberties in writing their name under where I had the job title, and then they just described their job below. But I can't believe I forgot that. So I would definitely make sure that that was on there. But as students were turning them in, I would write down whose it was. That way I kept track. But yeah, need to do that. And this will just help me be able to tie who has what job, who has what knowledge potentially to the student. Because if I just know, oh, everyone in the class, someone has a father who's a lawyer, that won't be as important as, okay, I know Johnny has a lawyer for a father. And so that can be more important to me as an educator to know which students have which knowledge. So that's why it would be important to know their names.